The Rakta Dark Dagger. This can be obtained from Red Veil. Actually looks pretty nice stat-wise as well, but considering it costs 125,000 standing with Red Veil, it was quite amazing to see that, like a lot of weapons, it's just got more damage and it's got more attack speed, and this is what was expected from the Syndicate melees. Take some of the lesser used weapons and make them slightly better, bringing them just a little bit more up to date. When comparing it, you can tell it has 15 more radiation damage, which it's got a small chance of this actually working. If you ground slam, it's actually got an increased chance of radiation affecting enemies. It does more wall attack, and basically it's just got a much higher attack speed. But the problem with this is, like a lot of daggers, its range is gonna suck. Oh, it uses homing fang as well, not pointed wind, which honestly, haven't used daggers in a while. I couldn't actually tell you which one of these is actually better. I'm just assuming that the gold one would be better. The biggie for this thing is it regenerates your shields and can create overcharged shields if your shields are full. But from everything I'm finding, the only way to do this is by killing enemies who are already radiated. So if you take the radiation off this weapon, might not work. As annoying as it is, this weapon is not as good as I personally expected it to be. The whole holding it makes you have reduced visibility isn't really that noticeable at all, if I'm honest. And its ability to recharge shields or grants overshields only really works every now and then, because you have to have the radiation effect on this weapon to be able to get any of the bonus stuff from them. So if you change the elemental and strip this weapon of its radiation, it's just going to turn it into a normal dark dagger. Plus, being one of the only weapons that got this weird 5% crit chance and 10% status, I think. Then again, the information I'm getting this from, because I don't have the game open at the moment, could be terribly wrong, like it was when it gave me physical damage info for the Rakta, which is a purely elemental weapon. So, yeah. But I know that the crit and the status on this, it's not really that high, so building this, I think I'll probably just go for the 2 Vs and a dash added to it, just for the, oh, I forgot the name of it. Primed Fury isn't necessarily needed for this, but Primed Reach is very useful for when you do a ground slam, because this thing doesn't really knock them over, but the ground slam is very useful for doing radiation elemental damage, which you need to be able to get the whole increase to shields and overshields thing. That reduced visibility, I just didn't see it using this weapon. It says it's there, but I couldn't see it working at all. I still see it. So depending on how you go with this, if you want to go status, you'll be using the dual status mods, kind of. If you're not, and you're going, you can kind of go for a semi both, adding crit and that. I personally went for the body count, blood rush, 4 dual stat elemental mods, primed fury over primed reach, and primed pressure point, just simply because I added the elemental stuff, and the blood rush and body count are just there to increase the chance that maybe it might crit. Those 2 mods, honestly, pretty useless on this. But once you do get this thing to work, it wasn't that bad of a weapon. It's increased from 35 total damage to 50 total damage, was very noticeable, no matter which combination of elemental stuff you put on this. I still don't understand why it has to be radiation to get these things from it. They could have just done it that when channeling you automatically get the shield stuff from them, instead of it has to have first affected them with radiation before it'll work. It's kind of a a weird thing, so it doesn't work all the time. But even though it's not working all the time, the extra 15 damage, it is noticeable. I kill things with this more than I do any kind of elemental stuff. Even on some of the sorties, I think it was a 30 to 35. No, I can't remember what the first sortie is. Is it 50 to 60? Next one's 60 to 70. Last one's like 80 to 100. But I took it in there once and was really amazed at how well this thing was actually taking out enemies. It really is quite a useful weapon, but this, again, it's just the biggest downside to this thing isn't the damage. It does enough damage. It's a huge improvement over the normal one, though I would have loved to have seen this as the Rakta split Dark Dagger, so you had a combination of the both. That would have been great, but it's not. It's the Dark Dagger. Anyway, the biggest downside to this is solely down to the fact you have to do the radiation proc to an enemy, then you can actually hit them again and start to regenerate your shields. If you don't land that radiation proc, the special side of this weapon becomes useless.